Hello, Music Theatre New Zealand. Welcome to the first of many Chewing the Fat. I'm lucky enough to be joined by Hayden Tee, who's home from overseas for a little while for this thing called isolation. So we thought we'd catch up with Hayden and find out what's happening in Hayden's world. So hey, Hayden.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm sitting in the sunshine and it just feels like a normal summer's day. The neighbours mowed the lawns earlier. I've got someone next door playing Kiwi tunes and it doesn't feel like the strange world we're in.
Look, the world has turned upside down the last few weeks, that's for sure. But look, it does. It is kind of strangely normal, you know.
And so not that people are going to knock your door down, but whereabouts in New Zealand are you at the moment, Hayden?
I'm in Northland, where I grew up in Northland, and because I obviously came back from overseas 2 weeks tomorrow, so I've been in isolation, like quarantine isolation at my grandmother's old house because it's been empty for a little while. So that was the obvious place for me to come. Of course, now the entire country's in isolation since I've been back. So, but yeah, Northland.
So you came home before we were locked down?
I did come home before we were locked down. Basically, I was in Manila doing the international tour of Matilda, and Manila was one of the first cities that went into lockdown, so we had to get out. So I went on a crazy plane ride from Manila to Abu Dhabi to New York. I was in New York for 14 hours getting my green card renewed for another 10 years because I thought I don't know when I'm going to be able to travel again with all of this, happening, and my green card was about to expire. Then I flew to Vancouver and then home. So it was 3 days of crazy travel, and I kind of beat these lockdowns the entire way as I went, and then arrived back in New Zealand kind of about 2 weeks ago, Wednesday.
Nice. Well, I'm pleased that you got home before the craziness because my heart goes out to those New Zealanders that are trapped on the other side of the world, unable to get home. So happy that you're here. So
when Jacinda said, come home, she basically said, come home while you can. I was like, my family were like, you're coming home. And I was like, yeah, it's time. I take Cindy seriously.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I think we all do. She's amazing.
Let's chew the fat about music.
Oh, I've been chewing the fat constantly for the last 2 weeks. I put on so much weight. But anyway, you carry on.
Wow. Bit of euphemism maybe, but anyway, you're meant to be in isolation.
Good luck in ISO. Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, it's dating through the Corona era or the COVID era is fascinating. No one can meet. We're all making dates for far in the future. But everyone's come home. My grinder is lit up like a Christmas tree because all the global gays have come back home and they're all, on uncle duties.
Wow.
At home in New Zealand. Rural New Zealand.
There we go. So tell us, Hayden, how did musical theatre start for you?
I started around the age of 14 at Otamatira Refugee Theatre. I was very shy as a kid, and my grandmother was like, I think that if you went down, she took me to see a show they did called The Music Hall, and she's like, I think you should audition because I think it'd be really good to build your confidence. And what was that, 1994, and I just found this community of misfits and I found like a real family. My family are amazing, but I found this family with people I was always very different, especially growing up in a small little village of 800 people, and I didn't really ever feel like I didn't fit in anywhere. And then when I went to Otamatira Refugee Theatre, I found this family of misfits where we were all different, but we were all really accepted for whoever we were, and that's kind of still the thing I love about theatre, really, worldwide.
And then from Otamatira, you travelled south down the country and ended up at Centre Stage or AMT first, or North Shore?
Centre Stage. I never actually ever did a show at North Shore. It just never happened. I went and saw a few, but I never did. No, it was my mother was marrying my stepfather, and he lived in Auckland, so I went down and auditioned for Big River at Centre Stage in Orewa, and got Tom Sawyer. So then I moved there, and then after that went to Auckland Music Theatre and did all the show, as many shows as I could. I mean, I loved it. You know, I think the record, my last year of high school, I did 9 shows in a year, including school productions. Nuts.
Now, students listening, Hayden is not encouraging you to do 9
Yes, I am.
shows in a year. Okay, don't worry about your exams.
Why
especially
would you
this
not?
year.
Why would you not though? Like, if you love what you do and you want to learn as much as you can and get as much experience, I don't know. That's exactly what I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm going against your advice to your students, darling. But like, I think the more you can get out there and do what you love and hone your craft in a practical setting, how can that be a bad thing? It's probably bad for your grades, but you know.
Look, I can't talk because I was the same. I think in my last year of high school, I was on stage in 5 and I helped out with another 5 in Dunedin, including doing a show with Bobby Alderton in my final year. So
he directed that Big River. I love Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby is definitely a darling. Hi, Bobby, if you're watching in Hamilton, I hope you are well.
Hi, Bobby.
So tell us, because we've mentioned someone now, if you were to think back over your journey, who would be the people in New Zealand theatre, musical theatre, that have been influences on you, or mentors, or someone that you fondly remember? There's probably too many.
Look, there are lots. I mean, from a point of view of someone I'd never met, but I always really looked up to, was obviously the great and late great Rob Guest. I went to Avondale College for my last 2 years of high school. He went to Avondale College. He won the Drama Cup. I won the Drama Cup. I really kind of idolized him, to be honest, growing up, and still to this day. I mean, he was extraordinary, but I never ever got to meet him. I was there at his filming of This Is Your Life, and I think it was 96, 97 at Star City. But I've never actually got to meet him before he passed on. In terms of people that I met, I mean, lots of people personally, like Melissa McRae, who was did makeup at Centre Stage Theatre. We became great friends, still are. When I did McDonald's Young Entertainers, which was a TV show back in the 90s, she was my chaperone and came with me. So she was very influential as I was starting to realise that maybe I could do this maybe this is actually could be a career. In terms of
Melissa, you and Melissa, of course, have just had an announcement lately about Centre Stage.
Yes, we're the co-patrons of the Centre Stage Youth Theatre, which I'm honoured. And with Mel as well. You know, we have such history and we're such good friends. So it's beautiful. I'm really happy, thrilled.
Fantastic.
Who else? I mean, after I went to drama school in Australia and came back, my first show, professional show, was Kiwi Fruits 2 and Kiss Me Kate at the Court Theatre, and Mark Hadlow was in both of those. And I mean, I just got on with him so well. He was such a sweetheart. He was so unbelievably generous of spirit with me, and kind of also, I don't know, like I idolized him growing up. So I think he was very influential. I've never actually even told him this, and we're not really still in contact anymore. But that was a really important training ground for me, doing those 2 shows down there. And I remember he said to me at the time, he's like, you're going to learn more here in these 2 shows than you did at drama school. And it's kind of right, you know. So he definitely was very influential. And there have been so many people over the years, you know, so many. We could sit here and, you know, Bobby Alderton and Tina House and so many amazing people.
The Skellies, all of those people were
yes, of course.
Life. Yeah. No, it's fantastic. So before ISO, as you said, you were in Manila doing Matilda. So what are you doing with yourself to stay busy for these? Well, you've already had 2 weeks, but obviously you've got the New Zealand at least another 3.5 to go. So what are you doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in terms of timeline, but the tour at the moment, we've only had the next couple of locations cancelled, so we're obviously waiting to hear about the rest. But what I'm doing here while I'm in ISO, it's actually busier than it is. I mean, obviously an 8-show week is incredibly busy, but in terms of if I had time off, I've got like 3 gigs this week all online. I'm doing a I think it's London Theatre Review on like 1:30 New Zealand time Monday morning. I'm opening like a virtual concert for them with a lot of different West End performers, and then I'm doing a reading with a writer and a director in New York on Sunday afternoon, my time, of a new musical. I'm not sure if I can say what it is yet, but watch this space, I guess. I think there's going to be an online presentation around the 28th. I hope I'm not going to get fired for, well, what are we talking about fired? It's all just keeping our creative juices flowing, isn't it? And then, and another thing in Australia to raise money for equity in Australia to help try and fund a lot of people who've lost their jobs and stuff. So I'm actually incredibly busy. Obviously, when I'm at home, I'm painting my face as much as I have today because I've got lots of time. My sister thinks I'm turning into Tiger King. I don't know if you've watched that documentary yet, but
No, but it seems to be a lot of people are discussing it.
I highly recommend it, darling. It's wonderful, outrageous viewing. But because I've been cutting my own hair through this, I'm kind of getting the mullet, and I've grown the moustache for an audition, a couple of self tapes I have coming up. So I'm literally turning into Joe Exotic.
Right. Oh, well, at least you're staying busy, though. That's fantastic. And as you've said, we don't really know what's going to happen after this because we don't really know when after this is.
No idea, but I've always, I think you have to in this industry have a view of the universe will provide and whatever will be. So I think this is the perfect time to think like that. You know what I mean? I used to freak out when I didn't have work coming up, and I've just learned over, oh God, I'm going to age myself here, but 20 years of working professionally that something always comes up, and I even now at this moment I just have to trust that the universe will provide. It's certainly not going to do me good stressing about it, and I can't control it. So.
No, well, we don't want any more wrinkles, so no stressing. Oh, beautiful. Yes, that's it. Beautiful. I love the fact that you've probably got more makeup on than me at the moment, given that I only ended up having 5 minutes to go and whip some foundation on.
I wear makeup a lot. Like I put a full face on to watch Drag Race in a Marco Polo Drag Race party on Saturday night last week, and I think we're doing it again this week. We're actually dressing up as our Snatch Game characters. So I mean, normally we wouldn't have the time to do that. It's kind of obviously the deaths and illness aside, it's in some ways it's a bit of a creative gift, looking at the silver lining.
And I do think that it is reminding us about life as it used to be. The fact that there's no flour shows that suddenly all these families are baking, and and as well, like Bunnings, how much before lockdown happened in those few days, the amount of soil and plants and garden stuff. And I think that's really exciting that people are actually getting that chance to go back and live how it was. Now I'm going to age myself. When I was a child, 10 years ago when I was a child, yeah.
Last week, yes.
That's the one. No, well, that's awesome. Well, I'm, like I said at the start, really pleased to have you home, Hayden, and I love the fact that you're always here for your music theatre community, to have a chat. And so tell us, if people want to follow you or find out what's going on in Hayden's world,
yeah.
Shameless plug time, Hayden.
Shameless plug. I get the hustle on, T. Look, all my social media is pretty much the same, at Hayden Tee, HaydenTee. That's Instagram, that's Twitter, that is HaydenTee.actor on Facebook. And yeah, I mean, I presume I'll be updating those, I mean, that's probably always the best way. I have lots of different people I've taught, write and ask different advice about stuff, and I kind of love that. So yeah, that's
fantastic. And you've got your fantastic makeup videos that people can jump on and watch as well. So
yes, on YouTube. I forgot about YouTube. Yeah, I've actually got another couple I'm planning, because obviously I've had lots of time to design and think about it. As I get older, I'm really committed to having both of my careers as a makeup artist and a performer live in the same space. So I'm trying to combine them as much as possible. So
I'm not sure if you're getting funny noises in the background, Hayden. I've got 2 dogs that are currently fighting around my feet. So if you're wondering, people that are listening, what the strange noises are, it's my little doodles.
Oh, they're adorable.
So that's Scoopy and Tyson, and they're loving being up home at the moment, but they do seem very confused about why we're here.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, it's good to have. I really wanted to adopt a foster pup or kitten or something while I'm here. I really should do that because I need that animal love in my life.
They would love your property as well, wouldn't they? Imagine a dog up on your land running around.
They have 2 acres to run around. All they want. My sister's dog, when he comes up, he makes out with the cows, the bulls next door. It's weird. Like, I'm just talking like they literally just lick each other's tongues, and I'm just like for 45 minutes, I'm like, boys will be boys, but can you stop, please? Like, it's getting a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, that's an interesting note to end on, isn't it? So, thank you so much.
Keeping it real.
Hayden. And
Pardon?
thank you so much for joining us and keeping it real.
Me.
And hey, this should be up. If obviously it's up, you'll be watching it. But keep an eye out for our next Chewing the Fat to see who else is home from Broadway or West End, sitting in New Zealand having some ISO. And look after yourself and wash your hands.